is here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Thanks for being here. Lots to cover. Let's start with Iran. Now, I'm very concerned that unless we do not undertake some kind of military operations better determined by our Pentagon and our Secretary of War, that the people in Iran will continue to be slaughtered. They will be demoralized and dispirited, that the protests will stop or slow, and the Iranian regime will go through and start butchering, raping, torturing, and just murdering people left and right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say something to you. I don't know why this is taking so long. I really don't. And I don't want to hear about warmongers and neocons. We'll save that for the low IQ sloganeers of the Marxist Islamist sort and the neo-fascist sort. The Persian people were our allies. They're not Arabs. They're more Western. And they want to be free. The Israelis knocked the crap out of the Iranian military. We blew out their nuclear sites. These people are starving. They don't have water. That regime is not only a fundamentalist Islamic regime that is spreading terrorism in our hemisphere, in our country, that tried to assassinate our president, but it is a regime that needs to be destroyed. Either you kill terrorists or they kill us. It's that simple. Oh, they want to talk to us. They don't want to talk to us in any rational way. The only reason they want to talk to us is to buy time so they can continue to kill people. This thing could be over in a week, 2 weeks, maybe less. And so they're hoping against hope, that we will be suckers and we'll buy into this talk stuff. What happened last time we spoke with them? Nothing. They were breaking out with the nuclear weapons, and then we hit them. Well, actually, Israel hit them, and then we hit the nuclear weapons. We're not trying to install a democracy. We're not trying to do anything. But there are times when we do help our fellow man. We can't help them everywhere, and we can't help them all the time. But in this case, it helps us too. Imagine that regime is gone. The effects it'll have on China and Russia. And even Venezuela. Imagine that for a moment. It's in our national security interest. I know there is a mindset out there. There's a mindset out there that suggests we should do nothing. Now, I'm going to take a very early break right now, Mr. Producer. I will be right back.
Mark Levin.
I always like to have some perspective, some history for us here, folks. We've never won a world war without allies. Never. Never. And allies don't have to be in the form of government. They can be in the form of people. I've told you before about the Battle of Yorktown, that we would have lost the Revolutionary War in that fateful battle, but for the French Navy. And the French went bankrupt after that battle, and it destroyed their government, really their monarchy. Now, I'm not saying we should do the same. We don't need to do the same. We have an ally in the region that is filled with brave lions, Israel. We have people in our country who are full of hate and evil. They're degenerates, just because I mentioned that name. These people are dangerous, and they're psychos. You ask why we're aligned with Israel? It's reasons like this, isn't it? Most of the terrorism that is unleashed against the United States comes out of the Middle East, comes from Muslim countries almost exclusively. Israel's surrounded by those countries. We have an opportunity now to take out the mothership of terrorism. The one that is involved in more terrorism than any other country on the face of the earth, and has been for half a century. Has killed God knows how many Americans. The people want to overthrow them. The vast majority of the people. And they're marching in the streets, and they're being slaughtered. Slaughtered. Young people. Young people. This is not only a fundamentalist, Islamist, jihadist, terrorist regime that slaughters its own people. It's a thugocracy. That is, the people who are in the government are getting filthy rich, while the people outside of the government are suffering horribly. They're begging us for their help, for our help, that is. But even more, the president has promised it, I've counted 5 times to take action. 5 times. There's a story in the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere that the vice president is pushing against military action and promoting diplomacy. I have to disagree with him on this. Diplomacy for what? Negotiate about what exactly? Every day that goes by, this regime has another opportunity to survive. They don't want to negotiate because they want to give up something. They want to negotiate so they survive. Let me put it to you this way. Our inaction ensures that that regime will survive. Those people don't have any arms. They don't have anything. Meanwhile, Iran is importing militia from Iraq. I have no doubt they're importing militia from other parts of the Arab world. And those people are dead ducks. I mean, to me, now that we've drawn not one red line, but 5 red lines, it's obvious that we've placed ourselves in a position where we must act. I don't mean a cyber attack. We have to act. And there's many things we can do. Of course, well short of sending in troops. No troops are going to be sent in, and they don't need to be sent in. There's an understanding where certain of the military and others are based. They have special units to try and destroy their populations. They've arrested, I've seen estimates, over 10 to 15,000 people already. Well, the head prosecutor for the whole country announced that they're going to start executing people. And they're going to start executing people tomorrow to send a message. So by definition, that crossed the 5 red lines that we have set. There are times when doing the right thing is doing the right thing, in my humble opinion. This is to the benefit of the United States. There's no question. It's to the benefit of the Iranian people. There's no question. It is a problem for the Iranian regime that is a terrorist regime. There's no question about that. There's almost a disconnect. A disconnect. There's like a struggle within the administration, I find from time to time, at the mid-level or the secondary level, that it's not in sync with the president. It's just not in sync with the president. You literally have people in our country now, podcasters and phony influencers, who side with the enemy openly side with the enemy. They used to dress themselves up as appeasers and pacifists and isolationists. No. Now they are mouthpieces for the enemy of the United States. They trash Jews and Christians. They trash law enforcement and ICE now. It's really quite shocking. And when you look at further, you see the overlays. I mean, we have a synagogue that was attacked, almost, I think it was burned to the ground in Jackson, Mississippi, the biggest synagogue there, the only synagogue there. You have a synagogue and a yeshiva that's attacked in New York with Hamas chanting Islamists. You have efforts being made to create Islamist communities and areas that are separate and apart from the United States. All this stuff's going on. All of it. It's a big problem. There are things going on outside the country and inside the country that it requires good people to stand up. There's an overlay to all this. It's a mentality. Let me ask you a question. You have a synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi that's virtually burned to the ground. It's as old as can be. It was also attacked during the Civil War. And it receives almost no national attention, little hits here and there. Now, I say this not to be offensive. I say this to make a point. If it were a black church that was burned to the ground in Mississippi, we'd hear about it day and night, and we should. And we should. So what gives? You've got Islamists in the middle of New York, outside a synagogue, with bullhorns, with drums, trying to prevent people from worshiping in their own synagogue. Is that American? And it receives minimal attention from the networks. Minimal national attention. Is that okay? I see our country tearing at the seams here. I see our country tearing at the seams for what I've been talking about for a long time now. This Marxist-Islamist fusion, now joined in by the old sort of Klan neo-Nazi types, the neo-fascists. And it's a huge problem for we as Americans who believe in our founding and believe in our system. So I think this needs to be confronted, whether it's in Iran where they're slaughtering their own people, where they're calling out our names, calling out the president's name for help, because they're not gonna survive without us. So we have a choice to make, a moral choice. I've already given you some of the reasons substantively, but how about spiritually? I've got more to say. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the research arm of conservative media. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Virtually every Democrat is against us helping the Iranian people, just like they're against us helping the Venezuelan people. Because that party is gone. The party is lost. And there are efforts in our party to do the same thing, to just abandon the field. And yet it's amazing. The more technologically advanced weapons become and the smaller the planet becomes. And now we have the enemy right here within the country. And you look around, they're everywhere. And their taskmasters are overseas for the most part. This is a prescription for the destruction of the country. And it's happened very quickly. And it's not going to end easily. But they will defeat us. If the Democrats win, or if the neo-fascist Klansman types in our neck of the woods, if they win too. We're a superpower. And yet the greatest threat that we face is from within. From these radicals. Here's the president on Air Force One yesterday. Cut one, go.
Sir, on Iran, have they crossed your red line yet to trigger a response?
Well, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it. And we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination.
Which options have you been briefed on? Are you meeting with senior officials?
I'm going to tell you that.
Are you meeting with
Am I going to really, are you asking me to say what will they do, where will we attack, when, and at what angle will we attack from?
Are you considering?
Who are you with?
I'm with the U.S. White House TV pool. I'm wondering, are you being briefed on options? I'm with CNN, sir.
Why don't you just say I'm with CNN? She says, I'm with the White House pool.
Yes.
And I say, what? You're with CNN. You're with
CNN,
you're
yes.
with fake news. Because CNN is fake news.
Mm-hmm. Cut two, go.
They called
you?
yesterday.
Is it still an option?
Iran called to negotiate. Yesterday. The leaders of Iran called.
To negotiate what? Their survival. They'll put some phony thing on the table like, okay, we won't build any more nuclear weapons. Those days are over. That's up. They're hanging on by their fingernails. They're trying to destroy our country, and the people are rising up trying to take back their country. I mean, to me, this is such a no-brainer. It's not even funny. I don't care what the ideologues of the Klansmen neo-fascists think. I don't care what the ideologues of the Marxist Islamists think. They don't have the nation's best interests. Go ahead. Cut two, please.
I think they're tired of being beat up by the United States.
Are you sharing any details on that call?
Iran wants to negotiate, yes.
Negotiate what?
We may meet with them. I mean, a meeting is being set up.
Negotiate what? What do they want to negotiate? What do they want to negotiate? Go ahead.
We may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting.
Right.
But a meeting is being set up. Iran called. They want to negotiate.
Should be no meeting, no negotiations. Witkoff should focus on Russia and Ukraine. Go over there and let's hear Tim Kaine. This guy's a real nut job. Senator from Virginia. Go ahead. Cut four.
U.S. military action in Iran would be a massive mistake. It would have the effect of giving the Iranian regime the ability to say it's the U.S.
Now,
that's
let me just
screwing up.
explain how stupid this is. How stupid this is. It would have the effect of giving the Iranian regime the ability to say it's the U.S. The people are rising up. They know it's not the U.S. It's them. They're the ones trying to take their country back. Now, how absurd is this? This means any single time, even in our hemisphere, and they basically said it with Venezuela, that we choose to help freedom fighters the way Reagan did. The way Reagan did in Nicaragua, the way Reagan did in Angola, the way Reagan did all over the world. That you don't do that because you'll give the genocidal maniacs another propaganda point. They're already saying it over there. But it has no impact on the general population because it's the general population that's rising up. What is it with these Democrats? That they make such stupid comments. They claim to be for the people. They're never for the people. Whether it's the most awful healthcare agenda or this stuff. Go ahead.
Now Iranians are blaming appropriately the regime for screwing up the country. This Iranian regime has spent years focusing outside.
We know all that, Kane. We know it all. And you've had your fat ass in a seat in the Senate for God knows how long, and you haven't done a damn thing. Nothing. And when the president acts in Venezuela, you attack him. And if the president acts in Iran, you'll attack him too. It's hard for people to overthrow a heavily armed police state with their bare hands. It's very difficult. Go ahead.
On fomenting terrorism and aggression in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon,
the
Yemen.
United States. So he'll list all the problems with Iran, and his solution is sit on your hands, like Obama did. Or like Biden. Try and buy him off. Billions and billions of dollars Biden gave them. How sick was that? The Democrats have no answers for a superpower dealing in foreign policy and national security. The Marxists and the Islamists hate us. The neo-fascists hate us. And they wrap themselves in as if they care about the United States' role or how the United States is going to look. Then we have Senator Mark Warner. This guy's a complete putz. A complete putz. Cut 5, go.
But what's happening in Iran now, a lot of these things, whether he's lucky or whether it's some of the things that he's done, it could be a much better place globally from when all of these things happen.
Iranian regime, awful.
Right.
Support for the Iranian people, absolutely.
Now listen to this.
Could we put more cyber activities? Could we try to restore the internet?
Cyber activities, that's not going to do it. So you shut down the computers. They're already shutting down the computers. Cyber activities are not going to do it. So this is just BS. This is just a complete propaganda response. Go ahead.
Intervened in Iran. The change of government was 1953.
Right.
CIA overthrew a government there. Most historians would say that led to the Ayatollahs.
Right.
No, it didn't lead. 1953 didn't lead to the Ayatollah. Jimmy Carter led to the Ayatollah. This guy, wherever the hell he was, in France or somewhere like that, Carter put enormous pressure on the Shah to bring him back. Shah didn't want to do it. More pressure on the Shah to bring him back. The Shah brought him back. And what happened is the fundamentalists rose up, and typically what happens is it takes a minority to overthrow a government, whether it's Mao or Lenin or Castro or whatever it is. It takes a minority. Even in our own Revolutionary War, it was about a third of the people supported it. So it takes a minority. A majority is very rare, and yet we have a majority of the people in Iran that want to overthrow that government, and this doofus points to 1953. He's never going to point to Jimmy Carter. Well, the CIA overthrew that government there. Okay. Why did they do that? Because they felt like it? Because they thought it would protect the United States? Do we have to wait to be attacked? Go ahead.
Toll is gone, but there's got to be a plan. And even with as good as our military is, who are you going to bomb in Iran?
Now, I'll tell you who you bomb in Iran. First of all, you don't have to bomb anybody. You can send forces in there. The Israelis know how to do it. Take out certain individuals like the leadership, but there are other things you can do. They know the locations of some of these units that are used exclusively to put down the population. Now, they're not going to lay out all the things that they can do, but this airhead He would do nothing other than wring his hands. Oh, they're awful over there. Oh, I'll give them that. Oh, good for you. Good for you. They want the people in our country to rise up against ICE. A few years ago, to rise up against local cops. About 40 years ago, to rise up against the military over Vietnam. And here the people are rising up legitimately in Iran. And what's their answer? They have no answer. Except we shouldn't do anything. Maybe cybersecurity, cyber attack, maybe some of that. Like that'll make a difference. It won't make any difference. So they have no ideas. They have no plans, period. Here's John Fetterman, the only rational Democrat, I think, in the damn whole Congress. Cut 7, go.
Yeah, if it makes sense. Again, if those strikes make sense, absolutely, I do support those things. I don't know exactly what the conversation is. I'm saying I'm open to that, and I am actually inspired by the real kinds of courage that those protesters in Iran are demonstrated now. So I don't know why we can't all want to support that, to back them and now bring that awful regime to its knees. Now that's where it's at right now. They're so desperate. Now they killed the internet, and now they're mowing down their own citizens. Now they're even so desperate, offering $6 a month as some kind of a payoff now too. Now for me, I think we can all agree that the world would be better, safer, and more just if you could break that regime.
He's 100% right. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
In some ways, the minority of voices sound like the majority of voices. And this is partly intended, if not significantly intended, by the mass media. Whenever they do these surveys or polls of the American people, you're very patriotic, you're very traditional, you want the strongest military on the face of the earth, you're not isolationist, you're not interventionist. You know what you are? You're prudential. Now, what does that mean? That means you use judgment to make decisions in each case. Judgments. And your judgments are based on our principles, American principles. So when you listen to some of these phony influencers, or when you listen to some of these city mayors or senators or congressmen or whatever, you scratch your head, or you shake your head, or you turn to your spouse or your kids, you say, that's not right, right? That's not right. We Americans don't think that way. And we Americans don't think that way. We don't think like Mondami and Bernie Sanders and Omar and Tlaib and AOC and Kaine and Warner. We don't think like Carlson and Kelly and Bannon and these other people, yet they get all the headlines, they get all the attention. And that's intentional. Why? Why do the left-wing Democrat media push the neo-fascists, the isolationists, and so forth? Number one, they want to break the Republican Party. They want to chip off enough votes out of the Republican Party they feel that they can win the next election. Number two, they're sympathetic to what the Marxist Islamists have to say. They have to be, and they are. They're sympathetic to it. And this new so-called communication revolution, it just provides more and more platforms for more and more lunatics. The rational people, they get drowned out. I'll give you an example. Oh, I don't know. 5, 6, 7 days ago, Katarson does one of his usual shows where he's out there attacking Israel, attacking the Jews, attacking America, attacking Christians, building up Islamists, building up Qatar. He's a sick bastard. That's what he is. So he has Megyn Kelly on, who has lost her mind. I believe she's mentally ill. I really do. She's lost in space, and that space is between her ears. She's become as contemptible as the rest. She defends Carlson. She defends Owens, an out-of-the-closet bigot. She defends Bannon, a convicted crook. She defends Fuentes, a Hitler-Stalin lover. So you are the company that you keep. You people wouldn't defend them. You wouldn't have dinner with them. You wouldn't do anything with them. And yet there she is, one of the worst grifters ever. And she gets on there and she says, I hate Catholics. Now, an awful lot of you folks listening to this show are Catholics. Mr. Producer is a Catholic. I hate Catholics? Where does that come from? I don't think there's been a bigger defender on mass media of Christianity, including Catholics, than me. But I'm not going to play defense on this sort of thing. It just shows you what it does. So 3 days later, a site called Mediaite that's owned by Dan Abrams, and it lives on these hits and these clicks. This is how they make their money, all of them. And they write a headline saying that she rips me for hating Catholics. Now they know she's a pathological liar. They know she has no morals or character. Everybody does at this point. I told you, she's the happy hooker of politics. Except she's not happy, because she's had more positions than anybody I can think of. And there she is. And they run the headline and they run the story 3 days later. Why? Clicks. And that's the problem. That's the problem. People are pushing these things they know aren't true, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so now you have an endless number of platforms, people who do exactly that. Who do exactly that. And so it undermines the spirit of America. It undermines the knowledge base of America. It's cancerous and it's metastasizing. Which is why I call this Radio Free America. Which is why I couldn't be prouder to have you here. We've got 2 more powerful hours. I hope you'll stay. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. And lawlessness is the name of the game now. First it was going after the local cops a few years back. Now it's going after ICE. Next it'll be going after the military. And we don't have a united ruling class here. You know, the Democrat Party is thrown in with the militia. They've thrown in with the Islamists. They've thrown in with the Marxists. They have been stoking violence against ICE, stoking it. It is every bit the hideous party that I said it was. And so here you have Anna Presley. She's the bald one out of Boston. Cut 9, go.
This harm does not discriminate. It is coming for everyone. And that is exactly why ICE must be stopped, because they're not operating with any constitutional due diligence. They are lawless. They are masked thugs. So whether you are a white woman, whether you are black or brown, certainly our most vulnerable communities are the most vulnerable
vulnerable communities. Whether you're black or brown or white, ICE is out to get you. Well, ICE is mostly brown. Did you know that, America? I want to read something to you. The Democrat Party and authoritarianism. This is the book I wrote. The book is not intended to be provocative, but in the Democrat Party-centric parts of our society, it undoubtedly will be. It's not written for Democrat Party officials, politicians, media, sycophants, activists, and surrogates. It's written for those patriotic Americans who fear for our country and its future. America is unraveling. Our founding and history are under assault. Our families and faiths are being degraded. Individualism has been substituted for groupism. Colorblindness is now racist. Capitalism and prosperity are being devoured by economic socialism and climate change fanaticism. Classrooms have become indoctrination mills for racism, segregation, bigots, and sexual perversion. And teachers' unions are hostile to parental involvement in critical decisions about the health and welfare of their children. In America, free speech and academic freedom are shrinking, and the police state is growing, as is monitoring and spying on citizens. This was during the Biden regime, of course. The government is banning all and regulating more and more household products, from incandescent light bulbs to dishwashers, while creating shortages and driving up costs of others. It's hard to remember the Biden years, isn't it? Crime is out of control in our streets, public transportation, in schools, and so forth. The Democrat Party is responsible for most of this and much more. It seeks to permanently control our governmental institutions. This is why they tried to imprison Trump. This is why they did it. They want to permanently control our governmental institutions, just as it dominates our cultural entities, from the media to academia, from entertainment to science. Seeks to delegitimize and eviscerate the Constitution, including the Bill of Rights, the Electoral College, the Supreme Court, and separation of powers, which obstructs its ideological designs. It abuses the rule of law by targeting its political opponents for harassment, investigation, and prosecution. In the end, it seeks to imprison them. And I go through it in great detail. This anti-Semitism that you're seeing against the Jews isn't new for the Democrat Party. It occurred all during the Franklin Roosevelt administration. And before that, all during the Woodrow Wilson administration. We didn't see a lot of it during the founders' period. The founders read what they called the Hebrew Bible. They knew it backwards and forwards. They fought side to side with Jews in the Revolutionary War. We've talked about Hyman Solomon, who helped fund the Revolutionary War and funded the Battle of Yorktown, or we would have lost. And President George Washington in the big synagogue in Newport, Rhode Island, and Thomas Jefferson, and I go on and on and on. John Adams said things that were beautifully stated. You don't hear that from Democrats today. In fact, you don't hear it from some high-ranking Republicans today. They're afraid to say Judeo-Christian values. Well, you can see when our nation and your ruling class withdraws from Judeo-Christian values, the country starts to collapse, doesn't it? You leave gaps for Islamists and Marxists. Marxism, a godless ideology. Islamism, a totalitarian viewpoint, fundamentalism. And now that we have these new technologies, word spreads fast and it isn't counted easily. You know, in the times that I go online on the internet, and I've done a lot of it over the last 3 weeks, I get different types of responses. I get the bots and their ilk, which are many. And you can tell by the language that they use, it's pretty horrific. And the foreign commenters who pretend not to be foreign, but now we know most of them are. I get the people who say, we stand with you. And I get the people who say, stop talking about these other people. Stop talking about them. When people attack your family and your faith, your country, and your president, I'm supposed to stop talking about them? Not only should I talk about them, I should confront them. I have fought for my entire life for this conservative movement. The phrase constitutional conservatism wasn't even used till I started using it 25 years ago. I have fought for it with every fiber of my being. I've written about it. I've spoken about it. I am an activist. Whether it's the Reagan Revolution, the Tea Party movement, Convention of States, and after the primary, MAGA. And you can ask the president about that. I'm not going to surrender constitutional conservatism even more. I'm not going to surrender this republic to these most loathsome reprobates. I should be quiet. Now's the time, not just for me to speak out, but for all of you to speak out. For all of you to say enough is enough. Let them be quiet. Let them get the hell off the internet, which they won't. That's where they live. Now, their goal inside the Republican Party, and we've talked about this, is to defeat the Republican Party and replace it with some kind of a neo-fascist feudalism. And for the Islamists and the Marxists, it's to replace it with a different form of fascism. But they're all your enemy. The real target's not me, it's you. The real target isn't just Jews, it's everybody. But they've got to try and create a juggernaut of sorts. They have failed so far. But that doesn't mean ultimately they won't. Great republics have fallen from within. Great republics get weak from within, and then they're weak from without. For all the criticism of Donald Trump, whether he's investigating Powell or he's doing this or that or the Reiners and so forth, here's what I know. He's the man who has the courage and the fortitude to stand up against this. It's easy to overlook these other things for me. It really is. Because he does so much that's good and does so much that is intended to protect this republic. He's the most conservative member of his administration. And he does have that populist aspect to his thinking, to cap interest rates. Well, he doesn't have the authority to do that. He can try through the bully pulpit, but I find that likely to be create dislocation in the economy. But look, again, there are fundamental issues at stake right now, America. Fundamental issues if we survive as a free republic or not. And he's on the right side of that. And he is a powerful force defending the republic. Excuse me. I mean, when he's asked about anti-Semitism, he addresses it. He doesn't give us a word salad about prejudice generally and so forth. And he addresses it directly. Directly. Where's that cup, Mr. Producer? Do we have that? I think we have it somewhere in here. I know I have it in an article. But he said, we have no room for anti-Semites in our party. He doesn't like them and he doesn't support them. And he also said that, no, but I did hear him say it. And he also said that, he said, look, my daughter's Jewish. I've got 3 grandchildren who I love who are Jewish. I'm very proud of. The fact of the matter is, he's got a son-in-law who's Muslim. Most of the family's Christian. He's got Jared and Ivanka who are Jewish. 3 grandchildren are Jewish. The guy honestly doesn't have a prejudice bone in his body, despite what they say about him. Despite what they say. But I don't know what we're going to do after him. To be perfectly honest, there's a handful of them. You got DeSantis, Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, a handful of others who understand all this, and they're not afraid to speak out against it. They're not afraid to explain what anti-Semitism is. They're not afraid to say Judeo-Christian values. They're leaders. They're outspoken about this stuff. And there's others, but not enough. But not enough. My view is very simple. If somebody wants to be the Republican nominee and they don't even embrace the basic principles of our philosophy, of our Judeo-Christian belief system, of our constitutional conservatism, then they shouldn't be the nominee. Oh, people will read things into what I'm saying, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't. All these guys are going to be challenged if they run. And they should be. We don't do coronations on the Republican side. Actually, we do, and they lose. And they lose. Ronald Reagan had to fight like hell to be president. Donald Trump had to fight like hell to be president. Abraham Lincoln had to fight like hell to be president. I'm in no mood to hand the presidency to anybody. These elections, every one of them now, from this past one to the next one to the one after that, are going to be decisive. Absolutely decisive. And whoever wants to run, I want to have on this program, and I want to interview them. And if they don't come on this program and they won't be interviewed, I will oppose them. It's that simple. Why? Because there's millions and millions of you, and you have a right to know what people think and what they say. And look, I oppose the Democrats and the radical kooks over there. It shouldn't be a hard interview, should it? No, I don't think so. There's just way too much at stake. You know, we've reached a point where even reversing course is going to be so complicated and daunting. It's going to take special people. It's going to take the next president after Trump, who first of all understands what's taking place. And then secondly, isn't afraid to talk about it. And then thirdly, isn't afraid to denounce what needs to be denounced. That's my view. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If your credit card balance is freaking you out after all the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk Saver Plan. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network. As a veteran-led company that cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. The easiest way to free up cash flow is to reduce your monthly recurring bills. Start with cutting overpriced wireless and switching to my wireless company. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk is America's wireless company. I'm convinced the president will act decisively and strongly and militarily to help the people of Iran, as he has threatened for days, because he knows what we all know. It would be one of the greatest mistakes, one of the greatest missed opportunities in the modern era. Israel led the way in that 12-day war back in June. Since then, the people of Iran have led the way. Europe has sat silently. Well, no, they put out statements, but they've done nothing. It's going to be left to us, the United States and Israel again, perhaps just the United States. But I don't think the president wants generations from now people to look back and say what a missed opportunity it was, and I don't think the president thinks it should be a missed opportunity. I think there are people around him who are whispering about diplomacy because that's all they know. They're good talkers. Not even that good. Talkers. People are being slaughtered, butchered in the streets. Thousands and thousands rounded up, and God knows what's happening to them. Diplomacy. Seems to me diplomacy in the same sentence as genocide doesn't really cut it for me. Does it for you, Mr. Producer? And the idea that the mindset of these terrorists, of these Islamist Nazis, isn't by now fully understood is really appalling to me by some of these people. Especially since 25 years ago we were hit on 9/11. What is it going to take? And you look in the streets and you see what's in the streets. Islamists, Marxists, paid protesters by billionaires, by Qatar, by China, by Iran. What the hell is it going to take? They're trying to burn down the country, along with the Democrat Party, which is always trying to burn down the country. That's its history. I mean, they almost destroyed it during the Civil War. Damn close. This is why Lincoln's considered, if not the greatest, one of the greatest, the second greatest president in history. Look what he faced. As we, in some ways, dither over Iran. Look what he faced. Every battle, 10, 20, 30,000 casualties and more. Gettysburg was more. Some of the others, Vicksburg, more. Country was falling apart. The death was unbearable. We're not even talking about that right now. We're talking about a foreign enemy that has the capacity to reach us on its back, put there by others, and those people are asking us for some help. If your credit card balance is freaking you out after all the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk Saver Plan. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network. As a veteran-led company that cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. The easiest way to free up cash flow is to reduce your monthly recurring bills. Start with cutting overpriced wireless and switching to my wireless company. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk is America's wireless company.
Saving America, one show at a time. The Mark Levin Show, 877-381-3811.
All the technical difficulties are behind us now. In good shape. The collapse of the regime in Iran is to our benefit on top of everything else. No longer have to worry about nuclear missiles, ballistic missiles. No longer have to worry about them funding terrorism in our country or terrorism anywhere. Now, the Qatarson ilk, they like Iran. They've said almost nothing about Iran. What have they said? What has he said? Well, most of you don't know what he says ever, and that's good for you. It is a brain cancer. But that said, what is Grandma Groiper Kelly said? Nothing that I know of. She's very busy attacking everybody. Then we've got Bloated Bannon, Third Reich Bannon. What has he said? Nobody cares because they know he's a crook. Was a convicted crook. Confessed to it. Okay, what's left? No Pants Gates? Well, we know he's a slob. But they say almost nothing, except we shouldn't be involved. That is the Qatari line. That's the Qatari line. Because Qatar shares oil resources with Iran. Iran's closest ally in the Middle East is Qatar and vice versa. It's true. It's all true. And Qatar lights fires and then says, hey, we'll help you put it out. They pretend to be the volunteer, firefighter. So those are those voices. You should ignore them. They're stupid. There's a whole thing going on now. The Wall Street Journal just did a piece on these so-called influencers, how they're getting paid. Did you see all that, Mr. Producer? They're getting paid. People who go online and say, Levin, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't criticize my buddy Mustafa or whatever his name is. We even have some podcasters who are getting paid directly or indirectly. Big trips. Having a grand old time. I know of one person that's not getting paid by these people, me. I work for Cumulus Westwood One. I work for Fox. And I work for Simon & Schuster, and I work for myself. There's no billionaires financing me, good or bad. There's no foreign governments financing me. Not even Israel, but certainly not an enemy country like Qatar. This podcast that I'm going to try and launch, I'm financing it. Me, myself, and I. Nobody else. But you really should watch some of these other people. There's an article on this. Some people who you might like. Some people who've weaseled their way around the president. Influencers. So many of them are on the payroll of somebody. And they don't tell you. Which was part of the article. They circumvent the rules. Because they're not official media. They're new media. They circumvent the rules. So there's no ethics involved, no morality involved. And remember what I've always told you, what Rush told me. Do not lie to your audience. Respect your audience. Respect your audience's integrity. I do this every single day. Every day. You know how many governments have paid for my trips? None. You know how many governments have paid for my hotels? None. First of all, I don't go anywhere. Infrequently. But if I decide to go overseas, whether it's Israel or somewhere in Europe or wherever, I pay for it. That shouldn't be a big deal, but let me tell you, it is now. Like the Qataris had that big event, and this guy, what's this Patel? What's his first name? Not Cash, of course. Sleazeball. The guy that used to work for Cheney. Now he's Qatari isolationist. Why? Because that's where the money comes from. Neil Patel. Neil Pathetic Patel. And Carlson. Tied at the hip, if you get my drift. In it together. That's right. Where do they get all this money from, America? Did you ever ask yourselves that? How do these people get all this money? Well, they get it either from foreign countries or billionaires. That's how they get it. You know how many billionaires I've asked to subsidize any of my activity? Not one. None. Again, it's not that, look at Mark. It's that, no, look at them. Look at them. And the reason that only job they have as a podcaster is because they couldn't make it anywhere else. Look at Grandma Groiper. Kelly. Couldn't make it on Fox, was thrown on NBC so fast, but she had a big payday. Oh, yeah, big payday. Her ratings sucked. So she's figured out, let me hitch my wagon to Carlson, who's hitched it to Qatar, who's hitched it to Owens, who's hitched it to Bannon, who's hitched it to all these other people, and I can make a lot of money. In the long run, they will fail. None of these people can make it on radio. None of them. Some good people can. I'm not talking about them. And here's the reason why. Radio has standards. You can't drop F-bombs. You can't have the mouth of a drunken Marxist. What you say needs to be at least relatively accurate, in my case, always accurate. You have people who have to take your show. Program directors, general managers, owners of broadcast companies. It's not that they silence you, or it's not that they coerce you at all. I've never been silenced or coerced by any of our wonderful affiliates or any of the wonderful companies that own radio stations. It's that you learn to be respectful, like your parents taught you. Treat your audience like you treat your own family. Let me ask you, do you go at breakfast and lunch if you're Grandma Groiper Kelly? She's got kids. Does she drop F-bombs all over the breakfast table or all over the dinner table? Well, if she doesn't, why would she do it all over your breakfast table and your dinner table? You understand my point? That alone to me is enough. That's enough. That's evidence of somebody who's just crude and stupid. Or take these other people. Do you sit around the table and just trash Jews all the time? The Jews are behind it, Harvey. The Jews are behind it, Denise. It's the Jews. It's the Jews. Is that what you do? Of course not. Unless you're a Klansman or a neo-Nazi, which is my point. In the case of Bannon, do you ask your neighbors, hey, I'm going to build a wall to protect this community and I need as much money as I can get from you, and then you pocket it? How many of you have done that? Or this guy Gates, would you have an ethics report that's filled with perversion and drugs and filth and a 17-year-old girl? Is that how you live? Well, why do you listen to these people? Most of you don't. You're singing to the choir, but you get the point. On radio, we cannot conduct ourselves way. We have standards. And they're good standards. We can still be edgy. We can still go to the line. We can do these things and so forth. But we also discuss things that aren't discussed in these other places. History, philosophy, economics, Americanism, and on and on and on. A handful, yes, but most, no. No. And these people are now undermining our country. They're trying to destroy the Republican Party and the Trump presidency. They're under the radar a lot, but then they pop up every now and then. They want to be seen with the president. They want to be seen at the UFC. They want to be seen at all these events, but they hate you. They're screwing you. They're stealing your money, in effect. But I've spent 10 months now exposing them. And you can make your own decisions. And I know you will. But this has added to the confusion in our society, I think, to some extent. And yet, when I see these surveys from the Reagan Institute and others that 87, 90, 92% of the American people stand with you and me. That's why I call you Mr. and Mrs. America. Stand with you and me. Makes me feel great. It means that they're having a poisonous effect on a limited number of people, which is bad enough. Which is bad enough, because that spreads. But so far, not on you. The vast majority of the American people. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If your credit card balance is freaking you out after all the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk Saver Plan. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network. As a veteran-led company that cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. The easiest way to free up cash flow is to reduce your monthly recurring bills. Start with cutting overpriced wireless and switching to my wireless company. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk is America's wireless company. We're reminded from the Israel war room, the New York Times was defending the Ayatollah Khomeini, the first genocidal maniac, as he plunged Iran into theocratic fascism that has devastated Iran and the Iranian people for nearly 5 decades. Quote, the news media have defamed him in many ways, wrote the New York Times, associating him with efforts to turn the clock back 1,300 years, with virulent anti-Semitism and with a new political disorder. This was the New York Times, theocratic fascism, about to be set loose on the world. Thus, the depiction of him as a fanatical reactionary and the bearer of crude prejudices seems certainly and happily false. February 1979, the New York Slimes. The same New York Slimes that brought us Fidel Castro. The same New York Times that used phony photos and statistics to promote Hamas. The same New York Times that covered up the slaughter of millions and millions of Ukrainians by Stalin. The same New York Times that covered up the Holocaust. How many chances does this grotesque, phony newspaper corporation get? And why does anybody even listen to them? Why? Nobody should. Nobody should listen to them, as far as I'm concerned. We should be mocking them, which I do all the time anyway. There's a constant drumbeat attack on ICE as there was on cops 4 or 5 years ago. ICE is there to protect you and me. They're not rounding up people willy-nilly. They're not shooting people on the spot just because they want to. That's Iran. I would tell Tim Kaine and the Democrats, in Iran, the regime is the enemy. They kill people, and lots of them. In America, ICE, they're the heroes trying to protect us and our communities. Part of the problem is America. How many of you have been to Capitol Hill lately? Have you been to Capitol Hill lately, Mr. Producer? It's Fortress Capitol Hill. They've got metal barriers that come out of the ground. They probably have 1 or 2 security and police officers for every member of Congress. I'm wrong about that. They've got 10 for every member of Congress. They got metal detectors. They are armed. They've got weapons. The goal is to protect the members of Congress. But when it comes to you and your homes and communities, the Democrats don't want you to have weapons. And they don't want you to be able to protect yourself. Call the police, they say. Well, they attack the police, denude the police, and reduce their numbers. And what about foreigners who are in your community? Rapists and murderers and burglars, gang members, or just others who are taking your jobs. Federal law says they're to be deported. They're to be removed. The Democrat Party says absolutely not, and those who are trying to remove them are the enemy. Push back hard. They use rhetoric intended to gaslight violence. I hate that damn party. I really do. I think they're despicable and disgusting. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, hello, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know what's funny is the program goes on, I get like a second, third wind. Do you know what I'm saying, Mr. Producer? I get more into it, even though the opening is very, very important to any program, of course. But as I say, this is really... let's see here. Oh, good. another technical problem. I can't. Oh, I'll deal with this. I'll bypass the technical problems. From Roll Call, a newspaper or the equivalent on Capitol Hill, Elizabeth Warren pitches a bigger economic tent for Democrats. When I think of a tent in Democrats, I think of the circus. But as my wife would tell you, the circus actually is filled with smart people and smart animals. Democrats need to hone their messaging on full-throated economic populist ideas, quote-unquote, as the party looks to regain ground in the 2026 midterms, Senator Elizabeth Warren said, and she suggests the party take a page out of President Trump's playbook to do that. Wow. Donald Trump said every single day that he would lower costs for American families. He said it over and over and over, and people believed him. He said in his very first interview after he was elected, the reason he got elected was because he offered to lower costs on the first day. Democrats need to read the room. That's what the American people want. You know what's interesting? He has. But Biden and the Democrats raised it so high, even when he lowers it, he can't lower it to what it was before that regime was in place. It's an impossibility. It doesn't happen that way because a lot of it is baked into the system so you can lower it, and he has lowered it. But he can't bring it back to 4 years ago. Nobody can do that unless you have a depression and you have very low prices, but you don't have any goods and services. The job for Democrats, Warren said, is to hold Trump accountable and to put out the party's own proposals to lower costs. Wow, she's the Einstein of politics, Mr. Producer. In fact, she looks a lot like Albert Einstein, not to put down Einstein. Massachusetts Democrat is firmly in the progressive wing. That means Marxist. I hate the media. They're so full of crap. And is a member of the Senate leadership team. How about that? She's got the Stalinist wing, she and Bernie. In a speech at the National Press Club, Warren pitched economic populism as the direction Democrats need to steer. How many times have I warned you about this word populism? The moron, phony pseudo-conservatives, they use the word populism. How many times have I told you populism is a leftist notion? Populism. Your Constitution isn't about populism. If it were about populism, we'd have a parliament. We wouldn't have an electoral college. We wouldn't have states. Populism. The vote means everything, even if it means voting for tyranny. Populism. And populism means more than politics for the left. It means economics. And what is populism in economics? Socialism. And what is socialism spread into politics? Marxism. Hey, that's the way it works. It's not enough to simply attack Trump. Democrats need to earn trust, long-term, durable trust across the electorate. Trust that we actually understand what's broken and trust that we have courage to fix it, even when that means taking on the wealthy and well-connected. Oh, that's really hard to do. That's been going on since Marx, since the 1840s and 50s. Oh, let's take on the wealthy and well-connected, yeah. And what do you get? California. And what's California doing to itself? Destroying itself. Those idiots, we talked about this the other week, putting up a proposition, a one-time tax on billionaires, 5% of their wealth, that's all, a wealth tax. What is this, Iran? A wealth tax? Keep in mind, people have already paid all their taxes. And let me ask you a question. Think about it. Many of you are thinking, all right, look, the billionaire guy's worth $300 billion. What's 5%? You think they're going to stop with that guy? Okay, now millionaires. You're not a millionaire, are you? Many of you are, and you don't know it based on just the home you own. But that's okay. Let's put that aside. 5% just on people who have $100 million. Yeah, that's okay. I'm safe. 10 million. Okay, that's all right. 1 million. Wait a minute. My house is worth $780,000 plus my pension and everything. Yeah, that's a wealth tax. It's a tax on wealth. Everything. Now, wait a minute. You can't do that. What do you mean? We just did. We did it to the billionaires, the multimillionaires. Now we're doing it to the millionaires. What about the poor people? They need the money. It's called redistribution of wealth. And when they're done with the millionaires, they go to the half millionaires. You get the point? These people don't stop. It's like the federal income tax when it was first passed after the 16th Amendment. It only taxed the wealthy. It's okay. It's the wealthy. They need to pay their fair share. Those bastards, what have they done for the country anyway, other than create jobs and invest capital and R&D and all that? Yeah, let's get them. And now look at it. The vast majority of you listening to this program, you're hit by the income tax, or you're hit by the death tax, or you're hit by one of these crazy-ass federal taxes, right? Then you get a massive IRS. Then you get audits. You get letters. Hey, you didn't pay us. They shake you down. That's the problem. The wealth tax. And what are they going to do with the money in California? Because we all know they're so careful with your money, just like they are in Minnesota and New Jersey and New York and everywhere else. The government is so careful with your money because it's not their money, it's your money. So, of course, they're going to be very careful with it. And if they blow it, they'll just raise taxes some more. It's quite a gig, isn't it? So why shouldn't the government have money to give to Somalis or to illegal aliens or to give to tax cheats and welfare cheats or to send overseas for basket weaving or to do whatever they want to do? They're so wise in the bureaucracy. Who are they? I don't know, but they're righteous. That's all I know. I don't know, but they're better than everybody else. Why? Why? It's a funny thing. If the Republicans were smart, they would take this affordability thing and shove it down the Democrats' throats. How? They talk about what I've been talking about, the high-tax states, the high-tax cities. You pay a hell of a lot more in taxes, those of you who pay taxes, than you do for food. Did you know that? Property taxes, sales taxes, income taxes, car taxes, this tax, every time you sneeze, every time you take a leak, it's a tax. Some kind of tax. A water tax. I pointed out, in California, you pay 62 cents sales tax on every gallon of gasoline. Did you know that, Mr. Baduzzi? That's affordability. Oh, yeah. New York. Oh, Massachusetts. Now, if there's ever an affordable state, wouldn't it be Massachusetts, America? Taxes through the roof, property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, all kinds of taxes. And so the Marxist, Elizabeth Warren, we need to talk about affordability. And these Republicans, they got marbles in their mouth. They don't know how to respond to this stuff. They're on affordability. We better get in front of this. We're going to lose this issue about affordability. Really? They tax everything, the Democrats. Everything. And so people should say, Republicans, pay attention. I'm trying to educate you in Congress. Wake the hell up. Republican governors, state legislators, wake the hell up. You should be able to deduct what the price of a gallon of gasoline would be without the sales tax on gasoline. Why don't you do that in Massachusetts? Not that hard to do. Or the price of an automobile without a sales tax, or the price of anything without a sales tax. Talk about it. Talk about it. Warren applauded Democrats for pushing back on Trump during the partial government shutdown. They shut it down to the extent it shut down. Yes. Recent polling has shown Democrats with a growing advantage on a generic congressional ballot that asks respondents whether they plan to vote for Republican or Democrat, 46.3 to 41.7. But don't worry, even if that turns around, the Democrats figure, like we gerrymandered so much, the Republicans will never catch us. They'll never catch us. But the fact of the matter is, I would give them right now the lead in the midterm elections. And I say that not to cause fear, but because I'm a realist and we better do something about this. We must win up and down the ballot in these critical midterm elections, said Warren. Yes, she stutters. Democrats cannot build a durable governing majority that actually makes life better for people and rebuilds trust in the Democrat Party by watering down our economic vision. So she wants to go full Mondami, full socialist, full political Marxist. That's her answer. Here's the truth. She wants to replace Bernie Sanders because he's about 173. And she views herself as the next Bernie Sanders. Now, they created the worst healthcare system in the world, Obamacare. We should be able to run on that. They brought all these illegal immigrants into the country, including the river to the sea crowd. We should be able to run on that, I would think. The worst inflation maybe in modern history. I think we should be able to run on that. Their cities and states are utterly unaffordable. I think we should be able to run on that. We had shortages of energy, which is why the price went up and the price of food went up during the Biden regime and when the Democrats controlled everything. I think we should be able to run on that. There's so much to run on. We should be populists. No. We shouldn't be populists. We should be constitutional conservatives and act like it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
These are not new ideas. They're failed ideas. They're old ideas. We just need candidates who know how to speak, know how to explain things. This is why you want successful people who've served in the public, not just mouthpieces. This is why governors tend to win presidencies for Republicans, but they're also great senators. Please don't get me wrong. But you look at a guy like DeSantis. I've never seen a governor like this in my entire life. Abbott is a close second in my view. He's a great governor. DeSantis has totally transformed the state of Florida, politically, culturally, economically. Totally transformed it. It's like he thinks 5 steps ahead. He's now working on a constitutional amendment on the property tax. They have no income tax. Billionaires are flocking to Florida. Not only billionaires, people who work in police departments all over the country. They're coming to Florida because they get a $5,000 bonus. He's prevented Disney from pushing this radical left perverse agenda. He's done more than any governor to clean up these schools. I hear this Youngkin, they talk about him in Virginia. I have to be honest, not to offend anybody, he hasn't done a damn thing. I don't know what he's done. Can somebody name 3 things? Hello. Certainly better than a Democrat, because what they do here is a disaster. So I'm not putting him down. I'm just saying I can name 10 things that DeSantis has done, or Abbott has done some wonderful things too, many wonderful things. So they can answer an Elizabeth Warren when they get up there with their pablum. They've never managed anything. Can't even manage their own lives. Honey, get me a beer. Remember that one? Let's show them I can drink beer. But if you've had an easy road, seriously, and you don't have the kind of substantive experience and knowledge to bring to a big job, you're an easy target. It's problematic. There's not a lot to point to. There just isn't. I mean, I used to mock Obama. What was he in the Senate long enough to find out where the men's room was? Pretty much. People need to run on our conservative belief system. Reagan won the biggest landslides in modern American history. He didn't win them by running from these principles. He won them by running with these principles. massive Electoral College victory, and at the time, a massive popular vote victory, almost 60%. We hadn't seen anything like that. And so it can be done. And you're not going to win that kind of vote by just talking to yourself or just talking to the woke right. In fact, you're going to get slaughtered. You want to be able to unite the Republican Party. Reagan had significant votes from Hispanics and blacks and women. He knew how to explain conservatism. What is conservatism at bottom? What is it? It's Americanism. We're trying to conserve Americanism. That's what we're trying to do. That's what it is. That's all. If you want to put it as simply as possible, conservatism is Americanism. What do we stand for? Read the Constitution. What's our philosophy? Read the Declaration of Independence. What's our economic system? It's called a free society. Free society requires a free or relatively free economic system. It's not that complicated. It's easy to explain. But if you're not a conservative, and you don't have experience, and you don't have knowledge, then you can't explain it. Instead, you sound stupid. And this is part of the problem we have, I think. And this is why you have grifters who are basically hawkers. I don't know, many of you have ever go to the Atlantic City Boardwalk when it was actually functional. And although I love our affiliate in Atlantic City, and I still love Atlantic City. My wife and I go there almost every year. In Ventnor and Margate, but that aside. Ocean City. This is why so many people who don't learn about Americanism are easily attracted to the lunatics, to the morons, to the reprobates. And so we gotta address that. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, tough as hell.
That's why I like Mark Levin. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough as hell. But I like him. I love him.
Call in now. 877-381-3811.
I posted a serious question on my social sites. And, of course, you're welcome to join. But you have to go on the internet. And the question is, what is the difference between Tucker Carlson and David Duke? I'm quite serious about this. I was thinking about this during the 2 breaks ago. I could have picked any Klansman or neo-Nazi, you understand. But I asked, what's the difference? Now, one of the differences is David Duke was pushed out of the Republican Party and denounced. Of course. And I would argue Qatar is a big difference, and Carlson earns a lot more money, of course. Modern technology can reach more people. But fundamentally, what's the difference between David Duke and Tucker Carlson? And you're welcome to join in the discussion. I think it's a serious question. I like to ask questions, Mr. Producer. Just asking questions. Just asking questions. Let's see here. Give me a second. We're going to go to some calls here. Hello. Here we go. Let us go to Tom, State College, Pennsylvania, the great WRSC. Tom, go right ahead, please.
Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
Can you hear me?
Say what?
Okay. Well,
yes.
Thanks for taking my call. You're one of my heroes. I got to tell you that. So
thank you.
Yeah. If my question is, if the Iranian people are really, truly tired of the tyranny from the mullahs and they're ready to really stand up and take control,
right?
Why don't we, to begin with, anyhow, I'm not saying it might not solve the problem, but to begin with, have a massive airdrop of conventional arms and ammunition into areas of the country where the Iranian military is not maybe going to get them. and then let them fight it out. And
I think that's a great idea. Great idea.
When the playground bully is trying to get you and your big brother steps in, you're still going to get it maybe double bad when your big brother's not around. So let's let them do it a little bit on their own and see what happens.
Well, they are going to need a little help because they have what's called a military, and rifles can only go so far. But I'm thinking you're thinking of like bazookas and stuff like that. I have no problem with that.
Well, yeah, conventional stuff, maybe some RPGs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And okay.
Tom, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. The Eagles. Are you an Eagles fan?
Thank you.
Are you? Hold on now. Are you a Philadelphia Eagles fan? Did we lose Tom? Then I'll speak for myself. I guess he's not. He's disgusted. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the Eagles had a weird season. Very strong, then very weird, ended strong. And yesterday, was a humiliation, I feel. You got to score more than 19 points. That's number one. Number two, in the last play for the 49ers, they marched down the field like Sherman through Atlanta. Defense completely collapsed. And then on the offense, they march all the way down the field and they do stupid stuff. And you know what? In my gut, I knew it would end that way. I did. Maybe I'm a typical Eagles fan or Philadelphia fan. I probably am. But I just knew it. Because they don't look like a confident football team. Now, here's the problem. They have great players. A couple injuries here and there, but every team has injuries here and there. Some of them are very serious. Look at the Washington Redskins. A lot of injuries. Some of these other teams, too. No excuse for that. I feel like they had less injuries than most teams. I don't know what the problem is. And I have nothing against the San Francisco 49ers. Anything against anybody. But they should have beaten them. And they didn't. And that's the bottom line. So what are they going to do? They're going to fire like all the assistant coaches, Mr. Producer. Now, I'm not opposed to this Sirianni. Not for him, not opposed to him. But the idea that you fire or remove all the others and that guy stays doesn't even make any sense to me. Because he's the boss. He's the boss. But I don't know what happened. That last play was a knucklehead play. And then you have the Ravens that fire their head coach. I don't know why they fired that head coach. The kicker missed the last field goal, which would have put them in the playoffs. The coach didn't kick it. The kicker kicked it. And he's a great coach, and for 18 years they've had really a great football team with a great win and loss record. And now everybody wants him. Very weird. But I'll tell you, the Eagles have great players, and if you're not going to win with those great players, you're not going to win. It's that simple. Very depressing if you're an Eagles fan. I know, 49, yeah, I got it. Great, whatever. New Yorkers are laughing, aren't they, Mr. Producer? Well, at least we're not the Jets. At least we're not the Giants. I said to a friend of mine yesterday, New York City ought to have two great teams. They should have two great football teams. The people there deserve it. It's the biggest city in the country. Maybe they should change the name of the Jets. The Jets. Isn't that like a gang, the Jets and the... What was the other? What was the... Yeah, remember? The Jets and the... Now we should say, okay, the Marxists and the Islamists. What do you think? I don't think that'll fly. Well, they voted for it, so why not? Although I bet you 99.9% of the football fans did not vote for that. Anyway, that was disgusting. So tonight, after the show, it's Pittsburgh and Texas, right, Mr. Producer? Yep. And you're a fanatic for Pittsburgh, right? And the quarterback New Yorkers might be familiar with, right? Aaron Rodgers. I don't particularly like that guy. I don't hate him. I don't particularly like him. Just has a personality of a wet blanket. But maybe that's because he's always hammered. I don't know, in the press. But Pittsburgh's looking pretty good. I have to be perfectly honest with you. They're looking pretty good. But we shall see. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
What the heck? It's the last segment? Uh-oh. Where is it, Mr. Producer? Do I owe you one, Rich? You better shoot it to me. I don't know what I did with it. It's the weirdest thing, how these disappear. Roger Fremont, Nebraska, the great KOIL. Roger, how are you, sir?
Mark, I'm doing fine. Thanks.
You got it. Go right ahead.
I'd love to make a statement about Megyn Kelly. 3 months ago, when she was heading over the cliff, I had 2 grandkids, 8 and 10 years old, sitting here with me. I clicked over to it, and I left the room, and then I heard the F-bomb when I was coming back in the room, and they looked at me like I didn't say it, and I, of course, clicked it off. But I heard you mention it earlier. What if you were just sitting around the dinner table? Well, I haven't ever listened to her ever again because of that, and she's just a nasty person.
I don't know why people think they need to do that to be edgy and cool when you're in your 50s and you think you're going to appeal to people. You're creating a history. They have a filthy mouth and a nasty mind. That's not a word I ever use. If I use it, maybe I'll think it because I'm angry, but I'll never... Rich, do I ever use that word? No. No, it's just one of those words you don't use because you're a decent human being. Exactly. But to go on there, she brags about how many listeners and viewers she has. They just keep dropping those F-bombs like she's cool. She's not. It's like an old lady spewing out the F-bomb. And these other things that she's doing, I don't know if her therapist is doing this. I don't know if she's got a press person telling her this stuff. I don't know if this is just okay by her. But I don't know if it's a midlife crisis. I don't know what the hell it is. But we'll get onto our podcast, and people will see how do you do a podcast, whether there's 10 million people or 10 people. You don't do that to draw attention to yourself. And yes, one day your kids will grow up and they're going to say, what? That's not a good legacy. I agree with you, sir. Because you're a decent guy, that's why. And that's not appropriate. So at a minimum, what they ought to have is like a little chyron on there and say anybody under 18 or under should not be watching this show because the F-bomb will drop about every half sentence. Now, that's what she's known for mostly. All right, Roger, thanks for your call. Let's keep going. Mark, Redfield, South Dakota, XM Satellite, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you, Mark, for taking my call. I appreciate it. I'll try and get through this quick. So right. I believe I have a way to shut down these paid protesters, right?
Yeah.
And that is, think about this. Are they filling out a W-4 form? They say they're paid for this. This is a job.
Brilliant.
You pay taxes. I pay taxes. If I didn't pay my taxes, I'd go to jail or talk to the IRS. So my thing is, okay, if they had to fill out a W-4, then the people that are paying them would have to divulge who is paying them, and they'd also be in trouble for paying people under the table. So start pulling some of these paid protesters.
Listen, I love your idea. I think it's a great idea. You getting paid? Okay, you filing income taxes? I love it.
Well, they're not paying taxes, so yeah, thank you.
All right, brother. The other thing we do on talk radio, we take calls, every now and then. We talk to the American people. And we're all over the country. That was Nebraska. That was South Dakota. Let's see. Where do we have next here? We have Salem, Oregon on the Mark Levin app. Jim, how are you, Jim?
Well, thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I wanted to call about, you made reference earlier to the anniversary of 9/11 and how people reacted to that. On the 10th anniversary, it's the first time I ever phoned a talk show. I was so upset about something, I pulled off the interstate and called. I was on the West Coast, KGO, the big station on the West Coast. They were talking about the Ground Zero Mosque. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And putting an Islamic center right on the footprint of 9/11. And I was a chaplain at Ground Zero.
Oh, wow.
I was there when they were digging for bodies. I was there at the morgue when forensic workers were looking at refrigerated body parts. Jeez. And then I was with the families as they went and started to actually see Ground Zero. I saw the people tearing their hair out and screaming and vomiting when they saw it. And all these people that were calling in so glibly to this talk show were talking about the beauty of Islam and Islamophobia, and we need to be a broad tent and all this stuff. So I called, and to the guy's credit, he let me talk for about 10 minutes. I told him what I just told you. And so after I got off the phone, I pulled over and listened to the last hour to see how they received it, the audience. And it was all summed up. This one 20-something called in. I think he was stoned. He said, "Man, it's real simple what happened back there, dude. And, that guy was real upset, last caller. Those people that died, they just had a bad karma."
Oh, God.
And I got so upset, I thought, I'm never going to let anybody forget what I saw with my own eyes. I still have the stench of death in my nostrils. Mm-hmm. I won't forget what I saw. I won't forget how we got there. And shows like yours and your personal commitment to tell the truth has been an inspiration to me, and I appreciate it.
Well, you're very, very kind. And can you imagine wanting to have a home in Qatar that protected the mastermind behind 9/11? It's unbelievable. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it very, very much. Folks, it's always a great honor and pleasure to have you here. I'm very blessed. Our national town hall meeting. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel, the men and women in Iran. And you, the American people, red-blooded Yanks, God bless each and every one of you. See you right here tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.